Okay, so you can look over it. We did the odds, but there were different, like you had to add them and subtract them and then do some scalar multiplication, bless you, and again.
You do that to us all the time.
Do you need me to read any of these off? Can you see them okay? If you were here to get the homework?
I was here.
Where were you?
I'm gonna lie.
Oh, I love this class. Are we done checking? No? Okay.
There's just so much to check.
I know. It's just a lot of little things.
I like when
I'm sure she does.
What?
I just like.
What?
Oh. Are we done yet? Okay.
Shut up. I'm gonna check my work when I did it.
Did you find your calculator yet? It's going to be bad news today.
That was so good. There's a dog on there.
I haven't watched the last two, but I watched every single one.
Are we done?
It's in my car.
Okay. Any questions? It was really just putting it in your calculator, and if you got it wrong, you probably just pushed the wrong button in your calculator. I mean, that's really what it boils down to. So today we're going to start trying to solve systems of equations with matrices. And in order to do that, we have to find the inverse of a matrix. Okay? Finding the inverse of a matrix is really easy on your calculator. By hand, not that easy. Okay? By hand, it's like a page-long process. We're not even going to do that. Okay? Not every matrix has an inverse. We only find inverses of square matrices, but even a square matrix may not have an inverse. Okay, let me give you a square matrix to start with. Let's just do a really easy one. Look at that. One side's way taller than the there's this thing called the determinant. And we're not going to find determinants today. But you need to know about determinant because you could have a question about it. Okay? So, second matrix, math. See that DET right there? That's the determinant, and I want the determinant of matrix A, and the determinant is 1. Okay, that's the determinant of matrix A. If you get a question asking you, like if you're taking the CLEP test and asks you what the determinant is, it's just a series of buttons on your calculator. You put the matrix in, then you go over to math. It's the very first one, DET for determinant, and the determinant of, and then you put your matrix in. This one's 1. Sometimes they're positive numbers, negative numbers, whatever. If the determinant is 0, the matrix doesn't have an inverse. Okay, if the determinant is 0, then the matrix doesn't have an inverse. That's just a fact that you need to know because you could have questions about it. But if the determinant is 0, there's no inverse. The matrix doesn't have an inverse. And it's easier to explain with a 2x2, a 3x3 inverse. Like you wouldn't gouge your eyes out before you actually do one of those by hand. These aren't so bad by hand because the inverse, if this is A, well, the inverse of A would equal 1 over the determinant times, and then these two switch places, and these two switch signs. Well, now, do you see right here why you can't have an inverse if the determinant is 0? Because you can't divide by 0, so that rules it out. So just know, if you put something into your calculator and you ask for the inverse and your calculator says it doesn't exist, or if it gives you an error function and you're certain you put all the buttons in correctly, but it says it still doesn't exist, then it probably is because it has a determinant of 0. And so it can't have an inverse. Okay? But it's really easy to find the inverse. Second matrix, you just pick the matrix that you want an inverse for, and you put that little -1 right there, and it gives you the inverse, which is pretty much what I just gave you. Okay, so that's how you find the inverse of a matrix on your calculator. I think I have a matrix in here that is not square. Yeah, so look what happens if I try to get B, oh, whoops. See, it says those are invalid dimensions, okay? Because what I have stored for B is a 2 by 4. And we only find inverses of square matrices. So that's why it's saying, hold up, can't do it. There's a problem here. B right here can't be done, okay? All right, so let me give you a matrix and just practice pushing all the buttons, finding the inverse. Let me change to a prettier color. Purple. All right, if this is, I don't know, I'm going to call it H for Harper. Find the inverse of H. See if you can press all the buttons, put everything in for what you need to have for this. Put this in. Someone knocking on the door. Oh, is it locked?
Locked.
Sorry, I didn't realize that. Just leave it partially. See how many sick days I have left. 24 and a half. You know, I'll tell you what helped me with sick days is when my mom moved back. Because then when the kids are sick, I'm just like, Mom, kids are sick. I'm in the house. I don't have to say anything. It's great. It's fantastic. A retired mom is the best babysitter. All right, did you get a bunch of decimals? Yeah. Okay, so you know if you just hit math, enter, it will change your decimals to a fraction. So you can have fractions in there. And then you don't have to move them to fractions yourself. So that's my H to the -1. This is not H to the -1, that's what it looks like, but it's the inverse of H. That's what that is. The inverse of H. Did you get that on your calculator? Never get that? If not, did you get that on your calculator? Was it because we put a button wrong, or was it because we don't know the buttons to push? Everybody got it? Okay, awesome. So let me show you how this is useful to us with systems of equations. Oh, this is my favorite marker, this one. When this one runs out, I'm going to cry. So let's say you have No. Just kidding. Here's my system of equations, okay? You can use a matrix. You can set this up as a matrix and solve for x and y. You have a coefficient matrix where you put all your coefficients in times xy equals -1, 1. Okay? That's what you have right there. Now, if you will remember from multiplying matrices, which I didn't really show you this yesterday, but we did it last year. If you were to multiply this by hand, this goes to 3x plus 4y. This one turns into 3x plus 5y. Well, guess what? That's exactly what I just started out with. So I didn't change anything about my system except how it looks. And we've talked about that. You know, the machine won't take your dollar, so you go get 4 quarters. You don't change how much money you have. You just change how your money looks. Okay? So this says this matrix times this matrix equals this matrix. Okay? Well, we know how to undo times, right? With division. Except you can't divide matrices. It's not, you can't do that. So let me just ask you this question. Let's say that you had 10 divided by 3. But the division button on your calculator was not working. But the multiplication was. Is there something that you could multiply by that would get you this same answer? 10 times 1/3, right. You could do the inverse of 3 and it would be the same answer. You'd get the same answer, okay? So that's what we're going to do. We're going to make this matrix A, and we're going to make this matrix B, and we're going to multiply times the inverse of A instead of dividing, because you can't divide matrices. That's it's not an operation that's doable, okay? So I'm going to let you type those in, and then we're going to talk about what order they have to go in the calculator. Let me get them in real quick, too. Oh, I just wrote on myself, but at least it's with my favorite marker. Okay, so when I put this in my calculator, I'm going to have the inverse of A and B. Am I going to have to put in the inverse of A times B or B times the inverse of A? Which one of those is going to have to, how's that going to have to go in my calculator? This one? How come?
Because that's it. Yeah, it's 2 by 2.
Right? This is a 2 by 2, and this is a 2 by 1. So if I put it in this way, it's going to tell me that I have incorrect dimensions, right? So it has to go in this way, or mismatched dimensions, I think is what they say. So I'm going to put in the inverse of A times B. All right, see that? And it's -3, 2. That means x is -3 and y is 2. That's my answer right there. -3, 2. You can do a 3 by 3. Let's do a 3 by 3 real quick. It's not like it takes a long time. Just have to type stuff in. Okay, what am I going to put in for matrix A on this one?
3, -1, 2.
Mm-hmm.
1, 1, -4. 2,
And then my matrix B is going to be what? That's right. What'd you get?
Fractions. Yeah.
Fractions?
Yeah.
I didn't get fractions. Oh, wait. No, I didn't get fractions. 3, -1, 2, 1, 1, -4, 2, 3, 3, 1. Oh, yeah, that should be a -9. Yeah, you probably got fractions. I wrote it down wrong. So you got fractions. So I have to find it now. Because when I did it earlier, I actually did it correctly. What fractions did you get? Hideously ugly fractions?
Like 52/29.
Oh, yeah, those are fun. Well, it's okay. What did you get? What'd you get for X? 52 over 29. What'd you get for Y?
45 over 29.
And then what'd you get for Z?
-41 over 29.
41 over 29? All right. Did everybody get those ugly fractions? Except Hunter. He got something totally different. Okay. All right. Well, for what I wrote down, I think that that's the right answer. I'm pretty sure that's the right answer for what I wrote down. If I had written the problem down right, you'd gotten lovely answers. And, you know, this is still a point. You can still write this like a point with your, you just put it in order. Like so. What if there's something missing? Like, what if in one of your problems it's like 2x plus z equals 7. What, for that particular row, what would you have to write in your matrix? Like if this is 3x plus 5y minus 3z equals 1. So what would this row have to look like?
2, 0.
Right, 2, 0, 1. So if there's not a variable there, you have to put in a 0. You can't have an empty space, and you can't have one that's like shorter than everything else. So you have to put in like a filler right there. So anyway, all right. Super easy. This chapter should be called how I saved my grade in the third 9 weeks. That's what this chapter should be called, right? You have, I hope it's posted by now, but you have an assignment in classroom. It's 7.3. And on 7.3, we're going to do 1 to 23, the odds. I'll put it up here in just a second. Let me write the assignment so the people watching can see what the assignment is. But it's 1 to 23, the odds. And it's finding inverses and then using an inverse to solve a system. It all should be on your calculator. All of it should be calculator work. There's nothing that you like have to do by hand. You can do all of it on your calculator. But it's systems and then, or inverses and then systems. Get a book and I'll put it up on the screen. One to 23, the odds.